Hey you guys, it's Courtney from Willow's Bloom, and today I'm here to talk to you guys about the super moon that's happening in Scorpio at 7 degrees as a full moon, and it should appear pink in the sky. So if you guys have the opportunity to see it on April 26th, I highly suggest getting outside during the nighttime to have a look because it's going to be huge and it's going to be beautiful. Before I jump into the breakdown of what this moon looks like overall and then do it for all the signs, I just wanted to announce that I am going to be launching the North Node Society, which is a membership and basically a community. I don't even like the term membership because it is really a collective or community or society of people that are trying to find their purpose and truly understand themselves and pursue what really lights them up and what they are gifted at. So, in this membership or in this community, I'm going to have a lot of resources for you guys to basically help you get to know yourselves. So, one of those resources is going to be a free astrology course, or I guess it's not free since the membership is paid, but an included astrology course. And it's astrology for non astrologers. So, I'm really just giving you everything you have to know or need to know to understand your chart without going into all of the little nitty gritty details that can get honestly very overwhelming once you become an astrologer. So that's going to be part of it. I'm going to have meditations, I'm going to have yoga, I'm going to have videos with a therapist who will walk you through how to work with different parts of yourself so that you don't self-sabotage once you find your purpose, things like this. And I'm also going to talk about what I think purpose is because I just wanted to put it out there that I don't think purpose is a certain career goal. I think it's really a way of being that is in alignment with your potential and your gifts and allows you to unlock these parts of yourself that are lying dormant or waiting to be tapped into so that you can grow and expand and feel really fulfilled in your life, but also make a huge impact on the world in whatever way you want to do that, whether that is starting a family or whether that's pursuing a spiritual practice or even if it is something career or business oriented. So I'm really going to have something for everyone, and every single month I'm going to have a speaker come and run a class, and I'm also going to have free astrology classes running every month. So it's going to be basically just a great place to come and really get to know yourself and work through a lot of those shadows. And I feel like astrology is one of the most powerful tools to do that, but we need to pair it with a lot of other tools. So that's exactly what I'm going to be offering. I'm not sure exactly when I'm going to be launching it yet, but I will announce that on my Instagram, on my email list. So make sure you subscribe using the link that's down below. Okay, thank you guys so much for listening to that. So today we're going to get into the Scorpio full moon. So this is happening at 7 degrees of Scorpio. So if you guys have 7 degrees or a planet at 7 degrees of Scorpio in your chart, this is going to directly feel this moon and it's going to have a really big impact on you personally. So whenever the moon is in Scorpio, the sun is in Taurus. So there's basically some action taking place along the polarities of both of these signs, because whenever a full moon occurs, the sun is always going to be opposite the moon, lighting it up. So the sun is in the sign or the constellation of Taurus and the moon is in Scorpio. So what both of these signs have in common is that they can be quite fixed in nature, which means that there's like a stubbornness to them or some aspect of them that is slightly inflexible or less adaptable to change, which is interesting because Scorpio is a sign of transformation. It's a sign of healing typically. It's the sign that has to undergo a lot of change in its lifetime. But that doesn't mean that change is easy. That doesn't mean that change is, even if it's natural in the course of a Scorpio's life, it doesn't mean that there's a desire for change like there is with some of the more mutable signs like Gemini, for example. So there can be a tendency now for this kind of culmination period that happens with a full moon where we start to really see the cycle ending and a new cycle beginning, and sort of like the results of things and what we need to change still, like what has still been left, undone from the previous cycle. And so if there is things that are coming up around this time that you feel like need change or need transformation, but you still feel like it's challenging to do so, or if you still feel like, yeah, like a little bit stuck, a little bit fixed in your energy, just know that that is normal. That is a natural process of transformation, is the resistance to it until eventually you get to a point of surrender. So I just wanted to mention that because as we're moving forward, I am going to be kind of drawing on where you might have some transformation happening in your lives for all the signs, and where you might have seen some major results from this past 6 months, but there might still be some of that stuck energy and things that you're having a hard time moving through, and maybe you've tried again and again. And I just want to say that again, it's normal. Even Scorpio, the sign of transformation, is a fixed sign. So yeah, just keep that in mind. So as I was saying, with full moons, there's a culmination period and ending of a cycle. So what happens is that back in November 14th of 2020, we had the new moon in Scorpio. So it takes around 6 months for the full moon in Scorpio to come to completion, meaning that the whole cycle is around 6 months. So I want you guys to take a second and think back to what you were working on back in November. There is some aspect of yourself that likely was illuminated at that time, some aspect of your life that you did need some healing, that you did need some transformation, where the energy felt like it was building and building and needed some kind of release or transformation and change. So just, I want you guys to again think back to that time and think about how much you have accomplished and how much has changed in that period of time. Because I honestly don't think that we give ourselves enough credit for how much we've really gone through. And a transformation is a slow process. So 6 months, man, that's like not even that much time to really be working on something. So really, it's an ongoing thing. Like even after this cycle, another one begins, but within the same kind of area of our life. So I just don't want you guys to feel like you haven't done enough, because I think a lot of times we can feel like we're not moving as quickly as we want to, but I really think that we are. And what's going to help speed this transformation up, is the fact that the sun is conjunct Uranus. So Uranus is a planet that can create instant action or instant results or instant impact in our life. And because of that, it can be quite shocking, it can be quite sudden and overwhelming in its nature. So we might have some insights kind of come into our life, or even events or endings come into our life that feel very sudden, that feel overwhelming because we didn't expect it. And it can kind of, it can catch us off guard in its sense. So I want you guys to keep in mind how this might feel very uncomfortable, but is actually very beneficial. Because if we go back to what I was saying about Scorpio being a fixed sign and energy kind of being stagnating and things needing to be wrapped up at this full moon, Uranus is really coming in and acting as like that dynamite to kind of loosen up everything that was all clumped together and needs to be released and let go. So even if there is that kind of, again, discomfort from this energy, it's ultimately serving a very higher purpose in our lives. So just keep that in mind if you are going through something difficult at this time. I'm really hoping that the energy of Mars is going to benefit us though, because during this full moon, the moon is going to be making a trine to Mars, which is moving into Cancer. So Mars in Cancer is an interesting energy. If you know anything about Mars, you know it's a very combative planet. It's a planet of war, of strife, kind of pulling people apart. It's also a planet of a lot of action, ambition, and drive and energy. But it's in this very watery, soft feeling sign of Cancer, this nurturing sign of Cancer. So it's a strange sign for Mars to be in, to be honest. But it's interesting because I feel like, given the fact that this is a Scorpio full moon, emotions are going to be high because full moons already bring about a lot of emotions, and Scorpio is a water sign, which again is linked to emotions. So I actually do like this trine to Mars in Cancer, because Cancer is also another water sign, and I feel like Mars is going to give us the energy and the boldness to kind of dive really deep into those challenging emotions and really explore the inner depths of ourselves and be brave throughout that process and be a little cutthroat, because sometimes when it comes to our emotions, we need to protect ourselves. We need to be a little bit cutthroat and know when it's time to end something in our life, when it's time to be done with a part of a cycle. And that's exactly what a full moon is all about, especially Scorpio. If you know anything about Scorpio, they can be extremely cutthroat. When something is not in alignment with them, when something is not serving them, they don't give it a second chance. It is out, it is done. And I feel like Mars is coming in to support that energy and saying, let's nurture ourselves by being cutthroat, which is kind of an interesting dynamic. So now is not the time to kind of tiptoe around issues. Now is the time to really dive in and address them, and not let the energy sit and stagnate. This is a time for upheaval. This is like a tower moment in a sense, where we're supposed to just pull the plug directly on things that are not helping us, to really like wrap up this transformation that you began in November 14th of 2020. So wherever that's falling in your life, I'm going to go through it for each sign. Wherever that's falling in your life, I really want you guys to take a very close look at that area of your life and be super honest with yourself about what isn't working. And if you don't do it, Uranus is going to come in here and do it for you. So Uranus is either going to create situations in which there's an immediacy to take action and be cutthroat and end something, or it can create revelations and realizations, or it can bring people and events into our life that somehow trigger us to create those changes. So just keep in mind that you're really being supported to let things go. Let it go. Whatever it is that's not serving you, let it go. The moon is also making a square to Saturn at this time. So this is going to feel heavy. Whenever there is a square to Saturn, we know that there is a density to the energy. We know that there's a level of commitment and follow through that's necessary. And it's not going to feel easy. It's going to feel like work. It's going to feel like effort. So during this time, I really see us kind of being harsh, cutting things out, and being supported with that more masculine energy that helps us assert our boundaries. But emotionally, it is going to be challenging. Whenever we're ending a chapter, there is a challenge in that. It is hard to let go. It takes effort to commit to a decision and one way of being that is different than you were acting before. And I just feel like that's what Saturn is coming here and saying. But I also feel like Saturn, the good thing about it, even if it feels heavy, is that it's ultimately helping us build this really strong and resilient character, where in the future it will help us make different decisions when we're presented with similar opportunities, because we've already learned from this kind of challenging emotional time, and Saturn brings us that wisdom. Saturn has a lot to do with aging, with maturity. And so ultimately, I see us gaining a lot of wisdom from this experience and changing on a deeper emotional level from it. So I think that this is going to be a really powerful time. And it's not going to feel the easiest, but I think it's going to be very beneficial for us. All right. So I just want to talk about a few more things coming up. So Venus is also hanging out right by the sun. It's not conjunct the sun. I would say it's a little bit too far removed, which is unfortunate because Venus tends to give us blessings in that area. So if the sun was with Venus, then we would feel, I think it would make this full moon a little bit easier. It is a little bit removed though, but it is conjunct Mercury, as well as Uranus. So really what I'm seeing for that is that it's going to help us create more inner harmony with our mindset as we're having these new realizations, because Venus is a planet of love, of relationships, of harmony, and it's right next to our mindset, right next to our communication. So I feel like what we're doing is honestly letting these things go in the name of love. We're not doing it from a place of strife, which Mars typically brings. I feel like we're doing this, we're taking Mars assertive energy, but then we're utilizing the power of Venus and saying, okay, well, you know what? I know I'm going to assert my boundaries. I know I'm going to let this thing go, but I'm going to do it in a really mature way. I'm going to do it from a place of understanding, of love, that I'm going to feel proud about in a year from now or 6 months from now. And I feel like it's really giving us a peace of mind in a sense. And because it's also conjunct Uranus, I think it can bring some unexpected things coming up in relationships, coming up with our money, or even our values and the way that we perceive ourselves. There can be some unexpected realizations or insights in that area of our life, or even events or communication taking place. You could receive news in those areas. It might come a little bit as a shock, but because it's Venus, I ultimately think there is going to be this peace of mind that comes along with the disturbance of it. So it's like, even though we're kind of pushed and we're stretched and we're being forced to transform and let go, ultimately, I think there's going to be an ease in our heart, knowing that what we're doing is absolutely right for us, knowing that this is the right step that we need to take to begin a new cycle in which we're going to feel happier and healthier and have a clean, brand new slate in our relationships. So, and in our relationship with ourselves, with others, with our values, and with our money. So that's really what I'm seeing coming in there. I also feel like we're being super blessed with an opportunity to make changes in our life with Jupiter making a trine to Mars. This was also happening in the previous Aries new moon, where we were starting to get like a little bit of a hold of our boundaries, a little bit more independence, beginning that type of cycle. It was already coming into play there, and it's continuing for this full moon, which I'm really happy about, because Jupiter gives us many blessings and opportunities, and Mars says if we just act on them, we can achieve incredible results. So I feel like these new beginnings in our independence and letting things go that weren't working for us are being supported by saying new things are going to start coming in as you start to act brave and take those first steps into this kind of new beginning. It's going to be scary, but you're also going to have new things come in that are going to feel exciting, that are going to be expansive as far as your soul's evolution is concerned. And you're going to grow so much more than you would have in that old cycle or that old energy. So I absolutely, absolutely love that. We also have Uranus making a square to Saturn. This has been ongoing for a long time now, so it's not anything new. And really what this is saying is that it's asking us to put in the energy and the effort to make a long-term changes in our life. This is the long cycle going on, and these moons happening in between are kind of like triggering events as a part of that process. We also have Chiron making a sextile to Saturn and a trine to the North Node. This again has been going on for a while. And this is really positive because I feel like as we're putting that effort in, we're beginning to heal a lot of ourselves. We're beginning to heal a lot of the past as we make these hard decisions, hard choices, and start maturing in our life. And ultimately, that healing is going to move us forward on our path of destiny, which represents the North Node, the energy that we're meant to embody, that we're meant to move into. And so I just see a lot of transformation happening, a lot of letting go, new beginnings coming in because of that, and being ultimately supported to be cutthroat, but yet from a place of peace and harmony and love. So that's really what I'm seeing for this Scorpio full moon. And now I'm going to get into how that breaks down for each of the zodiac signs. Okay, up first we have Aries Rising. So for you guys, this full moon is happening in your 8th house. So that means the sun is going to be in your 2nd house of finances. So this is interesting because the 8th house has a lot to do with our ability to be vulnerable. And since this moon is making a trine to Mars and Cancer in the 4th house, I feel like a lot of it is calling you to open up to your deeper emotions, you guys. The 4th house has a lot to do with not only things that we've inherited from family, things like that, but a lot of our general makeup, like our general emotional makeup. And so I feel like it's calling you to really be working on that. And I think as Aries risings, sometimes it can be easy to focus on, you embody some of that Mars nature. It can be easy to kind of bulldoze yourself in the sense that you don't always take the time to sit with your emotions, that you don't always take the time to process things and be really soft and vulnerable and sit in that more feminine nature, because Mars is a very masculine nature, and that's part of how you move through life. So I like that this moon is happening because I feel like it's giving you the opportunity to open up to that softer side of yourself that maybe has been like sort of put to the side recently, because of honestly so much difficulty that this year has brought and change and everything. I think it's easy to kind of close down emotionally, or yeah, just not examine some really deeper sides of ourselves. I feel like there's almost a need for you guys, like with the 12th house, to kind of go within and have a little bit more time alone. And I feel like it's only really possible to go to that deeper emotional place when you create space for it in your life. And it's funny because I did pull the Nine of Cups. It was in reverse, but I'm just going to read them upright. So this is emotional stability. So I feel like this is what this moon is asking for, actually, is for you to find a greater sense of emotional stability. And in that process, I think that you have to be super open and vulnerable with yourself about what you are feeling in order to find what what is kind of getting in your way, what emotional blocks are keeping you from finding this sense of stability in your life. So it's funny that I pulled that. The sun is also going to be conjunct Uranus in your second house. So you might have some new insights come in around your sense of stability, because the second house has a lot to do with that. There could be things that come in and shake up your finances, or give you insights into your self-worth and the way that you view yourself, and that, again, that general sense of stability within yourself. It could also have bring in new insights into the ways that you doubt yourself and your skills, specifically like the things that you need to be successful in your purpose or in your career, those skills that you monetize to help you in your future. There could be some insecurities there that are being highlighted at this time, and really brought to light for you to work on. And I dropped a card, so just one sec. Okay. Yeah. It's interesting because I also pulled this Sisterhood of the Rose card. It says beauty and devotion, priestess, mystic, and teacher. But really what stood out to me was the idea of sisterhood. And I'm getting this vibe here of connection, of friends, of a network. And it's interesting because this full moon is making a square to Saturn in the 11th. So I definitely feel like one of the things that you guys are personally going through this entire, honestly, these next year and a half with Saturn moving through the 11th house is putting more effort and work into developing friendships and connections, and feeling like there's periods of isolation, or feeling like you might have to work a little bit harder to find that connectedness and find that feeling of belonging. And I feel like this sisterhood here is saying that as you begin to open up to yourself more vulnerably and express a lot of these emotions and find this general emotional stability, I feel like that is ultimately going to help you find some of these greater connections. Because even if you found the connections without doing this internal work, I don't think you can really connect deeply emotionally with someone until you've connected deeply emotionally with yourself. So it's kind of pointless. You can only go as deep or understand someone or connect with someone on the level that you can do that with yourself. And I feel like that's why Saturn is moving through your 11th house. It's asking you to do that inner work and then show up and do that in your relationships as well. So I'm seeing an up-leveling of friendships. And whenever that happens, there is definitely a feeling of discomfort, because up-levelings require change, they require effort, and there's oftentimes some outside pressure and forces inflicted on us in order for us to develop that side of ourselves. Okay, so you're going to have right now Venus, Mercury, and Uranus all conjunct in the second house, making a square to Saturn in the 11th. So again, I feel like this is these insights coming in about your self-worth, and this is ultimately going to be linked to your friendships, or your skills and your friendships and your goals. So maybe you're having these realizations about yourself, and it's going to ultimately make a change or impact your relationships or your goals. So I'm also seeing like blessings coming in because you guys don't just have Saturn moving through 11th this next year. You also have Jupiter moving through there, which is going to give you more opportunities in your friendships. So there's not just like all hardship. You are being protected. You are being guided right now, and your relationships are absolutely going to be supported, but you just have to make the effort because Jupiter's making a trine to Mars in the fourth, and the effort is to really understand yourself emotionally. So yes, putting effort into social situations, but understanding yourself emotionally and then trying to show up to your relationships in that same capacity. And it's interesting because I pulled this sixth house routine card, which has a lot to do with like Virgo energy. But what I'm getting is that there's a focus here a little bit more on the physical body because that's what the sixth house has to deal with. So if you guys are having trouble finding emotional stability, or if you're like when you go to that deeper place, you feel overwhelmed with emotion. What I'm getting the sense is that the physical body is going to be one of the best outlets for you guys. So whether that means, using physical exercise or dance or something to express and move the energy of emotion through you is very important, especially because as an Aries rising, you are ruled by Mars, and Mars is a planet of action and of literal movement. So I see Mars come up a lot in people who are athletes, and you guys have an innate athletic sense to you. You are already very connected to your body. So one of the most powerful ways, again, to move the energy of emotion through you and to not let it get trapped or overwhelm you is to use physical exercise. You want to use it to consciously express the emotion and not to bypass the emotion though. So be very careful about how you're using your body. But ultimately, I feel like this is going to be really positive for you guys. It's going to be one that is a little bit uncomfortable because oftentimes it's easy to ignore our emotions and kind of bulldoze, like I was saying, but I see you guys moving through that and making really deeper connections with yourself, with your self-worth, and then ultimately with your friendships. So I hope that this resonates. If so, please like or comment down below, or both. And as always, if you want to purchase a reading from willowsbloom.com, you absolutely can. I hope you have a great day. Bye. All right, up next we have Taurus Rising. So for you guys, this full moon in Scorpio is happening in your 7th house of relationships, which means that the sun is going to be in your 1st house of self. So this is definitely a really big time to be having realizations about how you behave and act in relationships, and maybe elements of that might need to change. Okay, Queen of Wands, determination, I pulled for you. So I like to pull some tarot cards along with the astrology to give messages to help kind of fill in the gaps between my intuition and what the stars are saying. But yeah, a really big part of this moon is the fact that it's making a trine to Mars in Cancer in your 3rd house. So definitely I'm seeing some big themes around communication coming in your relationships. So it would be interesting for you guys to kind of go back and examine maybe how your communication has changed since November of last year, and maybe what might need to still change coming forward. I also pulled the Queen of Cups, sensitivity. And the Four of Wands, homecoming. So it's funny, this is a card for marriage. So it's funny because I know a Taurus rising that is getting married soon. So congratulations to her. It's funny, like when I do these readings, I'm always thinking about people that have these rising signs and like what's going on in their life. And just kind of like the practical applications of the astrology, because there's so many ways that you can interpret something. So really having somebody in mind is always so helpful for me, and sometimes I have lots of people in mind. Awakening, energetic upgrades, a new way of being, and integration. That's very exciting. So I feel like you guys are awakening to, I was going to say, to your own inner power in a way, which is interesting because the moon is happening in the house of others, But the sun is still in your first house. And you guys are also having Venus, Mercury, and Uranus conjunct in the first house. So I'm getting the sense of realization of your own inner power, which I feel like that Queen of Wands is saying, like this determination energy is coming through very strongly through your work and what you're able to create. Like I feel like I'm getting two distinct messages. One about this energy that's happening in your first house, creating that sense of determination, of leadership, of realizing your skills and ability to achieve things. And then this other side of you that's working on your communication and your relationships, that's working around shifting certain mindsets that you might have in regards to working with others. And that can be any type of relationship. That could literally mean contracts. It can mean working one-on-one with your clients. It can be your partner. It can be like your close family members. Just some kind of intimate relationships where you feel like maybe your mindset is actually a little bit like is getting the best of you a little bit, or maybe you're fighting over little things that don't matter, or maybe you need to have a bigger perspective. There is some need to shift either mindset or communication around how you're feeling. So maybe you're getting triggered by like little things, and it's kind of impacting your relationship with people, or maybe you are having difficulty speaking about some kind of emotional topics. And so I feel like this moon is coming in here and giving you blessings in that area and giving you the ability to change and transform that area in a better way. I also pulled the North Node, Life's Purpose. Yeah, you guys, I feel like you're getting a lot of realizations about your purpose and about your life direction, because Venus conjunct Mercury all in your sign, especially with Uranus. What I'm getting are like these downloads about yourself, about your life direction, about your passions, about your skills, about your ability to make these things happen. This is really cool, you guys. I also feel like this homecoming card is honestly a lot about yourself as well. Like this is you coming home to yourself in a sense of you're having a deeper understanding of yourself, your life direction, and then the more that you follow that path, the more it's going to feel like you're stepping into this bigger, more expansive energy that just feels more authentically you. So you're becoming more and more of yourself through this process. I really love that. I'm definitely seeing some changes coming into your career because this moon is making a square to Saturn in your 10th. And having Saturn move to the 10th house over these next year and a half is basically asking you guys to put in a lot of that hard work into your career. I think that's why this determination card is coming in, you guys. There's definitely a need for you guys to not give up. There is some delays, there is some setbacks that come in through your career through this next year and a half as Saturn moves through there. But because Jupiter is there too, it's giving you blessings and opportunities as well. So it's saying you might have these delays and setbacks, but it's going to be equally paired with blessings and opportunities. And once Jupiter moves out of there, you might have a little bit of a hard time as Saturn is still hanging out there. And I think that's where that determination card is saying is to not give up, because what's beautiful is after that year and a half, your whole career is going to be transformed, and you're going to have built something very strong, very steadfast. And that determination, you're going to be like, thank God I was determined. Thank God I didn't give up, because now look at what I have. So things are moving a little bit slower than you were hoping or were expecting in terms of your career. That is very normal given the transit that's happening there. But you're also going to be receiving opportunities that you're supposed to act on through this next year, especially opportunities to really step up and share your voice in a bigger way. So if you're having any kind of things come into your life where you have the opportunity to talk about your emotions or very publicly talk about your feelings or your ideas in some way, like maybe starting a podcast or whatever that is, I'm definitely seeing this being supported, and that's going to help you find more opportunities in your career. Like those things will equally support each other. I'm seeing an expansion of your voice here. So putting in that effort and really seizing any opportunities in which you can activate your throat chakra more and speak your message. So those are some of the really big things that I'm seeing for you guys. And I'm definitely feeling like these realizations that you're having about yourself and your purpose and everything are going to ask you to make changes, because Venus, Mercury, Uranus, all in the first house is squaring Saturn in the 10th. So it's basically saying you're going to be awakening to your purpose, and you can't just sit back, right? Like you're awakening literally to life's purpose, and that means that it's going to require some shifts and some change within you. And again, I'm definitely seeing some strong themes around communication and mindset being asked to be up leveled at this time. And I feel like that's why this sensitivity card is coming in. First of all, because you're really tapped into your intuition right now, and that's helping guide you along your purpose. But also because this Mars in Cancer is making you sensitive, is activating this need to communicate about your emotions. And the more that you do that, the better you're going to have, the more you're going to have stable relationships coming in through you, because ultimately this moon is really highlighting relationships in particular. So it's definitely possible to see some endings or some shifts in some cycles in your relationships, but there's this larger theme going on in terms of your career. So like the short term, the thing that you might feel the most right now is these realizations about yourself and communication and relationships. But the bigger picture, the longer term thing that's going on is how that's ultimately going to support bigger changes in your life purpose. So you guys, this looks really freaking incredible. I am so excited for you, and I hope that you enjoy this full moon. If this resonated, please give me a thumbs up and comment down below anything about your life story. I read all the comments, even if it takes me a while to respond. They mean so much to me. And as always, if you want to purchase an astrology reading, you can do so from willsbloom.com. And I hope you have a great day. Bye. All right, up next we have Gemini Rising. So for you guys, this full moon in Scorpio is happening in your 6th house, which means that the sun is in your 12th house. So Gemini Risings, with the sun moving through your 12th house, you guys might feel a little bit more introverted, a little bit more tired, kind of like the energy in your relationships and your friendships is not there like it normally is. That's totally fine. During Taurus season, this is your time of reflection, of introspection, and of reset before you come alive when the sun moves into your 1st house or into your sign. So I just want to kind of give that little PSA in case you're feeling a little bit strange. And it's funny because I pulled the Hierophant card. Oh wait, that's the Hermit card. Sorry, I was getting confused for a second. The Hierophant. Okay, never mind. Just forget what I was just about to say. Yeah, so having the moon in the 6th house, you guys. I always feel like the 6th house, at least for me personally, has a lot to do with our mindset. Gosh, you guys have a lot of cards. I didn't mean to pull this many. Yeah, like the 6th house has a lot to do with our mindset in terms of where we start kind of getting in like thought loops and self-criticizing or worrying and getting really focused on the details of things. So I'm definitely getting the sense that that's coming through in some respects, because I did pull the Devil card, which is a lot about, it says restriction, but it's a lot about restriction through your mindset, in the sense that you're like really, I feel like you're getting caught in the details of things, or any insecurities, and that can kind of be a restricting presence in your life. Like you're meant to really let go of any kind of obsessive thoughts. I don't know if you guys are having that happen, where you're kind of having trouble letting go of this, like this concept or this thought. It's like, finally, like, let's let that go. Let's undo that. And it's interesting, the Hierophant, unlearn. I mean, Hierophant has a lot to do with tradition. I think that's why it says unlearn, because it's like, okay, are you going to follow the tradition, or are you going to go the opposite way and sort of unlearn these things that you've done traditionally? So I feel like that could have a lot to do with the mindset aspect of maybe it's time to undo or unlearn this like thought pattern. Like I'm getting the vision of this, like the water that runs, like that trickles through sand and it starts to create crevices and it goes deeper and deeper as more water goes. The same concept with our thoughts. Like the more that our thoughts run that same route again and again, we start to learn these habitual ways of reacting, of believing about life, of thinking about life, of being. And I think it's time to unlearn some of those things. And I think this actually has a lot to do with your skills, your and and your finances. I think there's a lot to do with like unlearning things about your skills and your finances, like skills that help support you in your career to make money, and like literal finances. Specifically because I pulled the King of Pentacles, Master of Gems, which is wealth, and those cards are coming right after that. So you guys are definitely like unlearning a mindset around money. Like maybe you guys have only made a specific amount of money and you keep finding yourself like capped at that amount, or you just have a hard time like envisioning yourself being more wealthy, being more abundant, being more prosperous. And I'm seeing the need to really change that because this moon is making a trine to Mars and Cancer in your second house of finances. So you're being called to really explore the emotional energy around money and around your skills, and to make these kind of cutthroat decisions to end this way of being, to not let this perpetuate further, because you are being asked to like zoom out to the bigger perspective of your life and stop getting caught in the details of being critical about every little thing when it comes to money. So like, for example, if you're looking at, this is probably, I don't want to explain this in the wrong way to discourage you from budgeting, because that's not what I want. But if you're thinking about like every single penny that goes out and you're like worrying about every little finance and you're so zoomed in, it can be really easy to feel a sense of restriction and loss, even when you zoom out. Maybe you realize in your life that you've never really been in debt, or you've never really been not supported. You've always been able to eat. It's kind of like zooming out to that bigger perspective. I think that's really what it's challenging you to do with this Sagittarius IC card, is really change your beliefs and your perspective and zoom the fuck out so you can actually see with really clear eyes how you've always been supported this whole time and how you're still supported. And you don't need to be so concerned and so worried and stuck in this like same thought loop and same pattern when it comes to your finances or when it comes to your skills and abilities. And I'm saying this because the moon is also making a square to Saturn in the ninth, which is challenging you to unlearn certain beliefs about yourself and about life and learn new ones and establish new beliefs that are actually beneficial to you. And I think this is specifically coming in around money. It's saying it's time to change your money mindset and even your money routine, because the moon is happening in the sixth house of daily routines. So maybe you can shift how you routinely act and think and believe about money. Like anything that you're doing on a daily basis surrounding money needs to shift right now. And I'm seeing some big realizations come in about how you might be like blocking your blessings in a way, because you're going to have Venus, Mercury, and Uranus all making a conjunction in your 12th house. The 12th house is where things are hidden from us, where they're unseen and they unconsciously drive our behaviors. So I think you might be having some realizations about how you think about yourself, how you think about your skills, how you think about your worth, and how your ability to attract and feel abundance in your life. I think a lot of issues regarding that are going to be unearthed at this time, and you might be realizing, oh my gosh, I've been living in this one way of being, and there's actually an alternative way. I maybe haven't realized it. I've been kind of going on autopilot in this one specific way because of maybe my childhood programming or even past live programming. There's like, basically that's all being unearthed, and you're realizing that it's time for a revolution in your mindset and the way that you view yourself and your own worth. And you're realizing, I feel like at this point, that you are a manifester and that you have the ability to attract into your life what you want. But it does take effort to actually hold that belief and not just have it as a passing thought. And I think that's why this is making a square to Saturn in the ninth, is it's saying that you can't just have these realizations and then just leave it there. It requires effort to sustain these thoughts, to carve the new patterns, to have the water run through the new lines in the sand, and to deepen that aspect of yourself until you truly believe it in your heart and your soul. I am worth this. I deserve this much money. I deserve to feel this abundance. I have these incredible skills and I'm attracting this into my life. I'm seeing the strong manifestation energy, but again, really having to put the effort into believing that you are a manifester, that you do deserve this, and that this is possible. Okay. I do feel like you guys are having some opportunities come in. So the more that you actually develop those beliefs in yourself, I feel like you're going to get more opportunities coming into your yeah, sorry. I feel like okay, so I feel like the opportunities might actually be coming in for a way to teach. Because you okay, so you have Jupiter in the ninth making a trine to Mars in the second. So what I'm seeing is as you're putting more effort into really working on this aspect of your self-worth, abundance manifesting, skills, resources, as you're putting effort into that area of your life and kind of working on your mindset there, I feel like what it's also doing is giving you opportunities to expand more. So to have more connection with other people and make a bigger impact. So I'm seeing you guys being able to teach more or being able to travel more, or being able to like write a book or share your voice in some way. I literally pulled a share your voice card. I am seeing that like there's an ability here to express these new beliefs and help other people shift in this way as well. It's feeling like as you start to work on your manifesting power, then you start like your energy starts expanding outward and you start making a bigger and bigger impact, even if that's just on your friendships, even if that's just on people you know around you. And I feel like you're also going to be able to develop your intuition more because you're going to believe in yourself more. You're going to believe in this manifesting power and you're going to start pulling on it and using your intuition as a guide. And you're going to start seeing things appear in your life like this. These manifestations start to come in. And I feel like also having Venus conjunct Mercury conjunct Uranus in your 12th house is giving you more insight and more connection into your soul and into your intuition. So if you are having intuitive hits come up right now, it's saying trust the niggle and absolutely listen to that. And then this card says, it's all coming together, intuitive hits, soul tribe. So that's exactly what I'm feeling. I'm feeling like you guys are going to start expanding. So you're going to start listening to your intuition more and more to help guide you. And you're going to start manifesting and drawing in the people, the situations, and everything that you need to start making a bigger impact on the world and start stepping up further into your purpose. But it's all going to really start specifically with your mindset and your routines around your money. So I hope that this resonates with you guys and I hope that it's helpful. If so, please give me a like and comment down below about how this applies to your life because that always means so much and I always read every single comment and it just makes my day. And as always, if you want to purchase an astrology reading, you can do so from Will's Boom. And I hope you have a great day. Bye. All right, up next we have Cancer Risings. So for you guys, this full moon in Scorpio is happening in your 5th house of creative self-expression, of children. Okay, you know what? I'm pulling cards with each group and I accidentally just dropped the same cards that I pulled for another group. So I'm going to shuffle them. But yeah, I love having any placements really in the 5th house because generally this is the house that brings us joy. It's one where we learn to express ourselves creatively and just our essence. And it's also where we just go to find pleasure in life. So I do feel like just generally that tends to be optimistic, but there are some things going on that I'm going to explore deeper. Okay, so I pulled the Novice of Lightning Exploration. Novice of Lightning. Okay, so this is Page of Wands. And then I pulled the Seven of Wands, Defense. Interesting. Exploration and Defense. So having the moon in the 5th house means that the sun is going to be in the house opposite it, which is the 11th house of friendship, of community. So you might just feel generally at this time with the sun transiting your 11th house that your relationships are highlighted at this point in your life, or even like creating a sense of community, like memberships, for example, or joining groups with like-minded interests. The sun is also making a conjunction to Uranus, so it can bring you unexpected connections or have unexpected results in your connections, in your friends, and your network. The 11th house also has a lot to do with our social media presence, and just any kind of like technological presence that we have. So there can be some interesting, like new things, kind of unexpected or sudden things coming up in that regard, in that area of your life. Venus is also going to be conjunct Mercury and Uranus in your 11th house. So you might have some new insights about your friendships. And I feel like it's like the way that you show up and lead people in your relationships. You might get some insights around that, or around your purpose and like life direction, and how the community that you're creating or that you're around is influencing this purpose. And the reason I'm saying that is because this full moon is making a trine to Mars, which is in your first house of self. And I just pulled the first house here card, which of course makes a lot of sense. I feel like it's drawing extra special attention to this area of your life. Having Mars transiting through your first house is going to give you a lot of energy and make you basically more capable of achieving certain goals, especially with the sun in the 11th house. I feel like this is kind of giving you a little bit of a boost, and it's supporting the physical body. Sometimes, so it can kind of go with two ways. Mars can kind of be this like inflammatory planet that can make your body inflamed or irritated in some respect if there's like a pre-existing thing, but condition, but overall it can also make you a lot more energized. So I could see this going like multiple ways, but since it's a trine, I'm ultimately seeing it be a more positive influence in your life and probably just giving you energy. But yeah, I'm definitely getting that there is some element here of you creating something with this moon in the 5th house. Typically there's like a birthing process that is associated with the 5th house. It's the house of children. So because it's a full moon, it's likely that you've been birthing something that you have been working on for the last 6 months. And this could be just energetically, like within your friendships. But I really feel like it's coming through specifically in terms of your purpose and your career. Like you're starting to get a fuller picture and more insights about what you're meant to create moving forward in the future, and something that is supposed to bring you joy. And I think that's why I got the Page of Wands, exploration. I'm getting the sense that some of you guys might feel like you're going back to the drawing board and sort of exploring things in a new way, or exploring new things. So you're either starting something new after this cycle ends, or you are against like doing the same things in a new way. It's just interesting. Yeah, you guys are getting a lot about calling. You got the Warrior Woman. Have you answered your deepest calling? So I'm definitely getting a sense that you guys are going to get some new insights into what is desiring to be expressed through you in a more creative way, and moving you towards your calling because of the trine to Mars in the first house. However, this moon is also making a square to Saturn in the 8th house. So whenever we have Saturn moving through the 8th house, which for you guys is going to be there for like the next year and a half because Saturn's kind of slow. So whenever we have Saturn moving through the 8th house, it can bring up a lot of fears and insecurities, and it can really challenge us to look at some of our shadows. It can bring in the self-doubt. It can bring up uncertainty. It can bring in fears from the past that we're scared are going to repeat again. And I feel like that is possibly why I pulled the 7 of Wands, this defense card. I'm really getting this as like you needing to overcome and let go of some of these heavier thought patterns that maybe are kind of like a war within your mind in a sense. And I do feel like this could somehow relate to your friendships and your connections and relationships. Like, because you have Venus conjunct Mercury, conjunct Uranus, all in the 11th house, you might start having realizations about how you show up in relationships, or about how relationships are supporting you, or about this community you're trying to create or group you're trying to join. All these aspects of your life are going to start coming up to the surface, and you're going to have realizations about those relationships. And specifically, it's these things that I just mentioned are making a square to Saturn in the 8th. So I feel like it's basically saying that as you have those realizations, there's a need for you to let go of some, I feel like it's from the past, honestly, like past pain or past issues in relationships, or past issues within yourself that have led you to maybe dim your light in relationships. That's the feeling that I'm getting, that there is, with Mars transiting your first house, their desire for you to become more of a leader in your life and in your relationships, like this warrior woman. But then there's kind of like this stuff coming up in regards to those relationships that can trigger some of those old fears and insecurities that might make you feel like you need to remain small to be accepted. And so if that is the case, it's time to let go of those things. So I'm really getting the sense for you guys that needs to be an effort to kind of purge some of these old behaviors, beliefs, and I know I keep saying fears, but that's what I'm getting, like. And sometimes these fears can be really hidden. Like, we don't even know that we're operating under fear when we're interacting in a certain way in our relationship. So I think it's just going to be really beneficial for you to even work with someone to do some shadow work. Like talking to a therapist is going to be really important. Really, I feel like this is just a need to untangle these parts of your mind that are really working against you and against your ability to be this warrior woman. And as you do that, you're going to start stepping up further into like this leadership position. And I feel like you're going to help other people disentangle these things in their mind as well, because you guys have Jupiter transiting the 8th house, which bestows blessings in that area of your life. So I think ultimately, as you're stepping up as a leader, you're going to simultaneously help others sort of heal those mindsets that you've been working on healing. And again, I'm seeing just this need to explore different paths. It might not be clear now. So since this is a full moon, I'm feeling like there's 2 cycles going on. There's one that's wrapping up where you are having some like creative birthing process and are realizing something in your life. But then I think there's a new one beginning where after you birth this, you are going back to the drawing board and having some time to explore some other creative outlets or some other aspects of yourself even that you haven't really had a chance to, because you were kind of wrapping up this previous cycle. So that's what I'm getting, is like there's a birthing but also a releasing and like starting anew. So yeah, so ultimately I feel like this is going to be really beneficial in helping you establish relationships that really accept you and help lift you up to that warrior woman status, really help you be your biggest and brightest self, and also for you to stop with the inner dialogue and the inner war that has been holding you back. Because I'm getting the feeling that you guys are a really bright light, especially with this Page of Wands card. I feel like you guys are very inspirational, and you can be very moving for people emotionally and supportive, but I feel like you're not living up to your full potential because of the 7 of Wands card and because of Saturn moving through the 8th house. The reason why it's moving through such a karmic house for you right now is to help you really drop the old defenses, the old things in your mind, the old things that are holding you back, so that you can feel a lot lighter and move into a much more positive cycle moving forward. So I feel like this is a really potent time for you guys to make this inner transformation happen, and I really hope that you are successful with it. So if this resonates, please like or leave me a comment down below, or both. And as always, if you want to purchase an astrology reading from willsbloom.com, then I would love that, and I will see you next week. Bye. All right, up next we have Leo risings. So for you guys, this full moon in Scorpio is going to be taking place in your 4th house of home and family, and the sun is going to be in the 10th house because it's always opposite the moon, so it's going to be in the 10th house of career. And I'm pulling some cards to go along with these messages just to kind of further support my intuition and get an idea of what is really going on for you guys. Weird, I just pulled that card for another group. Okay, so this is going to be a bigger moon for you guys, only because having a full moon in one of the angles, and the fourth house is one of the angles, always makes it much more apparent in your life, especially if you have this, conjunct a planet or making an aspect to one of your planets. You're really going to kind of see this come full circle more than any other group. And oftentimes there will be like more physical shows of a full moon when it hits one of the, the first, seventh, fourth, or 10th house. And it's hitting your fourth house of roots. So it's activating 10th house of career too. So I think both of those elements of your life, like your home and your family and your career, are really going to be where you're going to start to see some of these shifts happen, or some culmination happen, or endings happen, or just proof of like all the hard work you've been doing kind of coming to the surface. Chiron healing. Interesting. I'm definitely getting the sense with this card that you are going to be doing a lot of emotional healing, because the fourth house has a lot to do. Aquarius, I know. The fourth house has a lot to do with our emotions and like our emotional foundation that we kind of inherit from childhood and from our family. And this moon is making a trine to Mars in your 12th house, which is in Cancer. So inherently with the 12th house, I think it's very positive to have Chiron and the 12th house come up together, because what I'm getting is essentially that, some healing and letting go of things. Especially when I think of the 12th house, I like to think of things that are usually so painful that we store them in our unconscious mind and don't always deal with them in a conscious way, because it's literally unconscious. So I think it's interesting that you're getting a moon happening in the fourth, this full moon illuminating your fourth, illuminating the root of emotions, and it's making a trine to Mars in the 12th, where unconscious patterns and fears and traumas are stored. I'm definitely getting a sense that some of these things are going to come to the surface for you to be worked through. And I definitely feel like a lot of these are actually related to relationships as well, because this full moon in Scorpio is making a square to Saturn in your 7th house. And Saturn has been moving through your 7th house since it moved into Aquarius, and it's going to be there for at least the next year and a half. And Saturn moving through the 7th house can ask you to really come to terms and be very honest with yourself about your relationships and how you are in relationships and how other people treat you and how your boundaries are in relationships. And it can present challenges or obstacles to work through. It basically draws your attention there to put more effort into it. The good news is that you also have Jupiter there, so the effort is going to be followed with opportunities and blessings, and these energies mix well together to support real growth and change in your partnerships. And with the full moon making a square to Saturn in the 7th house, I feel like it's calling you to let go of some of these like unconscious past traumas from childhood that are actually influencing your relationships and not allowing you to fully express and accept and feel love. And I feel like that's why I pulled the Apprentice of Raindrops, which I think is the Page of Cups. And it says charm. Or might be the Knight of Cups. But regardless, this is somebody who's moving towards love or an offer of love and finding emotional stability and comfort in a partner. And I feel like you guys can't achieve this until you guys, okay, I should go back, because the Knight of Cups is like a very slow moving energy that's moving towards the 9 of Cups or the 10 of Cups with emotional stability and success in a happy family. And because it's slow moving, I feel like it's saying that you're making progress towards this. And at this time, at this full moon, it's going to give you kind of like a little bit more of a burst on that progress and like help you jump up a few steps so that you, by like allowing you to finally let go of some of those things that are actually from your childhood that aren't serving you. I feel like they're fears. The 12th house can be associated a lot with like mental illness. A lot of people suffer from like psychological problems when they have certain things going on in their 12th house. And I feel like the moon stimulating Mars in your 12th house is having you let go of some of those maybe unconscious or even overt like psychological issues that have stemmed from family and have impacted your relationships, like stemmed from your childhood. I mean, a lot of this can be under the surface and like totally unaware. And I think some things are going to be really illuminated just because of the fact that it's a full moon and it sheds light on things. But it's ultimately going to lead you to more emotional fulfillment and happiness by letting some of these things go. So it's a really great time to make changes to your relationships and how you emotionally react in relationships or view relationships. But yeah, I think a big thing is going to be around boundaries and really protecting and taking care of yourself, because Saturn in the 7th house, Saturn is a lot of boundaries. So you can be like learning and testing those boundaries over the next year and a half and really getting a sense of how you show up and how your energy is affected, and how you might be bringing things from the past and reacting a certain way or behaving a certain way, just because of your like lens and viewpoint from childhood, and how that also relates to boundaries. So just kind of bear that in mind if you're people pleasing, or if you are like not respecting yourself in some way. Is that coming from like these childhood wounds where maybe you weren't given what you needed at a certain point in your life very early in childhood? Because we're very, very sensitive beings, and before the age of 3 a lot of our issues are already cemented. So it could literally just be like you cried one time and your mom wasn't there, and that can literally produce a micro trauma that then results in this subconscious need for attention or need to give to people because you want to feel loved back. Like, I'm just throwing out stuff that's obviously it's going to be different for everyone. But I'm really ultimately getting that there's a lot that is coming out. And I feel like this defense card is asking you to work on your mindset and also your way of communicating in relationships, communicating your needs. So with Saturn moving to the 7th, if things are a little bit harder in relationships now, again, it's normal, but like part of the things that you're meant to work on is how to dissolve issues and how to work through these issues with somebody without getting defensive, because maybe that is coming up from childhood or past programming, and then trying to really find that kind of equal footing and equal partnership that maybe would, like, maybe if Saturn weren't moving through this house, maybe you wouldn't be focusing on building that. But I'm really getting the need for you to build a strong foundation with this person and kind of overcome some maybe past issues. Keepers of the Earth. You are not alone. Ancient ancestors stand beside you. Honestly, I feel like this is what this is saying in terms of you inheriting this. And I feel like it's literally from ancestors. If you think about things that you inherit from your family, they inherited it from their parents and their parents and their parents. So this has been in your lineage. So this type of intense healing, and I'm getting chills saying this because I feel like it's true for some of you. This type of intense healing is really it's hard because it's so ingrained. It's literally in our DNA and our cells and our molecules. And I think this is saying that the ancestors who have passed are energetically supporting you to finally overturn this and begin a new cycle. So you are being extremely supported, and if you feel like you're alone at times, just call on them because they're here to help you release some of this baggage that they had a part in perpetuating. Okay. You guys also got the Aquarius I Know card. So, okay, a few things. First of all, I feel like this Aquarius I know card is saying that you already know what some of these issues are. And I think you've already been trying to release some of them. And I don't know, because Mars is in the 12th, I do feel like some of these things you don't have full awareness of, but I feel like some of them are maybe issues that have been kind of on your mind for like a while, and you've seen come up in relationships before, and you have an awareness of them and you have been working on them. And I feel like this Aquarius I know card is saying those things that you have awareness of, that cycle is ending, and you are finally going to make different decisions and communicate differently and just think different things in order to end the perpetuation of these things that you've already been working on. But I feel like because there is a trine to Mars in the 12th, there is a closing of that cycle and kind of a renewal of another cycle where you're going to start working on the next phase of things. Like, we're always working on stuff, we're always learning stuff. And I think the moon highlighting that trine to Mars is saying that some new things will come to the surface for you to fully heal and let go of. And you're finally going to go on to like the next chapter and not keep repeating these same relationship patterns, which I feel like is going to feel so good and like such a blessing for you guys. So, as I said, the sun is moving through the 10th house and it's conjunct Uranus. You also have Venus and Mercury and Uranus conjunct in the 10th house. So, I'm definitely getting a sense that you're going to have some realizations about your career and your place in the world, and maybe like what your needs are within your career, and somehow that's going to relate to your relationship and is going to need you to change your relationship dynamics. This could literally mean like with your coworkers, but I am getting the sense that it's with more personal and close relationships. I really don't know how this is going to come play for you guys, but there is this interplay between them because these planets are making a square to Saturn in the 7th. So I feel like it's almost like as you begin to realize more things about your purpose and you start to step more into that sense of power or make decisions for yourself in that way, that could require you to make changes in your partner or work through issues with your partner because maybe you want to try something different, or maybe you're up leveling and your partner hasn't seen you in this kind of power before. There's some way that the relationships that you have is impacting your career and vice versa. You guys also have Jupiter moving through the 7th house of relationships, which is going to give you opportunities to make these changes and is going to give you more blessings and help those changes occur with ease. And it's making a trine to Mars in the 12th. So I feel like the more that you are moving through some of these new cycles, these new things that are coming up, the better your relationships are going to be. And you're going to see yourself starting to tackle these issues like one at a time. And you're going to be really proud of yourself, and your partnerships are going to become more and more healthy. And again, you're going to break that cycle. So that's what I'm seeing for you guys, Leo Rising. If you resonate with this, please like and comment down below. I love to read all of your comments. I do always read them, even if I'm slow to respond. And as always, if you want to purchase a reading from Willow's Bloom, you can totally do that, and I would love to see you there. Bye. All right, up next we have Virgo Rising. So for Virgo Risings, this full moon in Scorpio is happening in your 3rd house of siblings, of communication, of nearby. Oh, I just dropped so many cards. Of your nearby community. Let me pick those up. Okay, so I do like to pull cards to go along with the astrology reading, just to give some more info and really kind of fill in the dots with my intuition. And I did drop some cards, so I'm going to pull these out for you guys. I'm reading them all upright, just so you know. You guys have the King of Wands, leadership, and you have the High Priestess. Okay, guys. This is one of my favorite cards. You have the 10 of Swords, endings, which is makes a lot of sense for Scorpio full moon. For endings, it's very, I forget the word. And then 4 of Cups, contemplation. Interesting. So you have two really powerful positive cards and then two challenging cards. Challenging, I mean, it is what you make it, right? But I do feel like there's this kind of split happening here. So I'm curious how this is going to play out when I look at the astrology. You guys have Akasha, your guidance is divinely guided. If you guys are interested in getting an Akashic records reading, that might be really powerful for you at this time. That's definitely in line with Scorpio kind of themes as well, and can illuminate a lot of wisdom about you in past lives, where you can kind of go into the energy of your past lives and see maybe any cycles that have been repeating in this lifetime to put an end to that, which is so powerful. I'm just going to pull one more card and then get into everything. Grand Cross Provoker. Definitely sensing some need for change for you guys. And I honestly think that the last moon had this card for you as well, if I remember correctly. So there's a continuation of that energy in a sense here. I think Virgo Risings have had kind of more intense cards or transformations feeling like they're coming up. Okay, so as I mentioned, this full moon is happening in your third house. And this moon is making a trine to Mars in Cancer in your 11th house. So again, I'm definitely seeing some changes and shifts in your communication, specifically in regards to your friendships and your ability to like network and things like that. So there are a lot of ways that this can be applied. So for example, you could be like on social media more and getting more attention and having some kind of like results from that, because full moons bring results from past efforts. And the effort we began on November 14th of last year. So these are generally 6 months apart. So it could be in that area, but I do like to go in the direction of kind of ending a cycle of something. So yeah, you might see results in terms of that, but I feel like you guys are ending some kind of cycle in the way that you think or you communicate with people. And you have the sun moving through the 9th house, which has a lot to do with our belief systems. And we're having Venus there as well. So the sun is conjunct Uranus. And then we have Venus and Mercury and Uranus conjunct as well. So unfortunately, the sun isn't close enough to Venus to give it its blessings, but there's definitely going to be insights coming in this area of your life about, I think, what you've been believing. And I feel like a lot of it is you kind of holding... Sorry, I'm just kind of thinking about this because I really want to say, like, I feel like you guys are limiting yourself in the way that you've been thinking. And I think that's probably why I pulled these two cards, the King of Wands and the High Priestess, is I'm getting the sense that you guys are actually this energy right here. You guys are very intuitive. You're incredible leaders, and you have like this really limitless potential that you're sitting on. But from my point of view with this full moon, I feel like it's illuminating these thought patterns that are much smaller than this, that are just keeping you small. And I feel like you're going to start realizing when you're doing this. And it's interesting because Venus, Mercury, and Uranus is making a square to Saturn in the 6th house. So Saturn in the 6th house is like where we're putting a lot of energy into our work, into a daily grind and like working for other people. So if you're doing that right now, makes sense at this time of your life. If you're just trying to be of service to someone right now, that makes sense at this time of your life. This is not really like the time of your life to be like reaping all of these rewards with Saturn moving through your 6th house. It's like your time to do the bitch work and like put in sweat equity. The problem though is that sometimes when we're in that, I feel like we can get stuck in that and thinking like, okay, like that's, like I feel like we start to truly believe that that's like how life is going to be, or that that's all we can attain, and we can lose sight of the vision of our inner eye that's telling us like what we want to manifest on a larger scale. And even if you guys do have that vision, which I feel like you could have the bigger vision with this leadership intuition. I feel like that is you. So I feel like you could have that vision, but it's almost like the daily thoughts that you think are not compatible with that long-term vision, if that makes sense. So it's almost like, I feel like you guys can see yourself being leaders and achieving these incredible things and using your intuition in your work, and just being this like powerhouse. But then it's like that ultimate vision is almost like it's misaligned with what's happening day to day and with your thoughts day to day. It's almost like your current reality doesn't look anything like that, and you're starting to like lose a little bit of that optimism, or you're starting to maybe have some self-doubt, or you're starting to communicate or think in a way that actually isn't ultimately supportive of this long-term vision. That's the sense that I'm getting. I feel like you guys are going through like the grunt work cycle, and you have this like big goal, and there is a little bit of like a discord. Like the goal is here and your mindset and actions are here, and they need to be like in alignment for you to achieve that. And so I feel like, yeah, so because this full moon is also making a square to Saturn in the 6th, I feel like it's saying that there needs to be, I feel like okay, sorry, I'm just thinking a lot of things, so it's probably like coming across as really stuttery or weird. But I do feel like normally I'm thinking like, okay, here the full moon is representing a change with Saturn. I'm not getting that sense. I'm getting the sense that Saturn is like there to stay for this next year and a half. And you guys are like, you have to put in this like grunt work. This is like an unmovable situation. That's the sense that I'm getting, like that you guys aren't going to like suddenly be going out and starting to achieve these huge goals like this next year. Because Saturn is moving through there. I feel like it's like Saturn is a karmic planet. It's like pay down your debt, pay your dues. That is an unmovable force. Like you can't skip ahead to the vision. You can't skip ahead to like the accolades. You have to pay the dues. So that is there. But it's making a square to this full moon in your 3rd house and the 9th house. And this is saying like, okay, do this grunt work, but then change your mindset about either the grunt work, or change your mindset about what you are thinking about yourself and what you're capable of achieving. So like something is off there. You're either in the wrong energy of thinking like, I don't want to do this, and like not being like mentally and emotionally aligned with the grunt work. If you're not paying your dues from a place of like mental peace, if you're like having thoughts of resistance against it, that's ultimately working against you and achieving your long-term vision, because this is step 1 and you don't want to be like pushing back against step 1. So it could either be shifting your mindset to be more positive about the paying your dues part, or it could be about you kind of like losing self-esteem or losing positivity about that long-term vision because it's so different from where you are now, and having these like negative thoughts that aren't helpful for you. So I'm seeing something there needs to give in terms of your mindset and ultimately you holding your long-term vision. And I feel like you're going to have more insights about that long-term vision with this full moon because of the fact that Mercury is conjunct Uranus and Venus. And I feel like it's going to be very positive and uplifting those new thoughts and new ideas about your long-term vision. But yeah, I feel like that's why this endings card came in, and this contemplation card. I feel like it's saying there needs to be an end to the way that you're thinking, the way that you're contemplating about your future, about your current job. There needs to be some kind of shift in those thoughts. And also this Grand Cross Provoker makes me feel like that's not the only thing that needs to be shifted. Given that there is a square to the Saturn in the 6th house, I feel like there can be a lot of little things in your day that can be shifted to really start benefiting you, to align you with your like ultimate vision. So maybe you are doing the grunt work, but you can get up early and start having a better routine. You can start meditating more. You can start journaling. You can start lifting up your vibration to start matching that like bigger vision that you're holding, even though your current activities in terms of work are not where you want to be. you're going to start embodying who you want to be before you're doing it. And it's going to help you actually achieve that vision. And Jupiter being in the 6th house is going to help you actually do well in aligning yourself with that. So I feel like that's going to be really beneficial. And this somehow still connects into relationships, particularly friendships, particularly in like in your sense of belonging. I feel like you're going to feel like you belong more and have more and like improved relationships with people as you start to shift your mindset, whether that's like you being more optimistic at work and people are more attracted to you, or you believing in yourself more and you start to draw in and attract those connections that are going to help you achieve that certain result. And yeah, I feel like as you start to like shift the little things in your daily routine to align yourself with that energy, you're going to start drawing in more relationships to support you. And those are things that are going to kind of balance each other out, and like be co-supportive in that way. Okay, so that's what I'm seeing. I hope that resonates. If so, please like and comment down below. I absolutely love to hear your comments. I read every single one of them and they make my day, even if I am slow to respond. So I just want to say thank you guys so much for staying tuned. And as always, if you want to purchase an astrology reading from me from willsboom.com, go check it out. Bye. All right, up next we have Libra Risings. So for you guys, this full moon in Scorpio is happening in your 2nd house of finances. And that means that the sun is opposite it in your 8th house of debt, investments, vulnerability, and security. Yeah, I'm definitely getting the feeling that there is some good things coming in terms of financially for your career. I feel like you guys are kind of going to start seeing like actual shifts. Like you're ending a cycle in terms of how you get paid. I'm feeling like your hard work is finally going to start paying off. This moon is making a trine to Mars in the 10th house. So I feel like all the energy that you've been putting into your career and that you continue to put into your career is going to start to manifest outwardly, because full moons are about results, are about culminations of past efforts. So yeah, I'm definitely getting the sense that there is that coming in to support you guys. This card keeps coming up for so many people. Weird. Oh. I got the 9 of Cups. So if you're new to my videos, I do like to pull some cards to go along with the messages that I'm seeing in astrology. 8 of Swords, self-victimization. All right, you guys, time to get out of your heads. I kind of want to pull one more. All right, I'm going to pull one more. So the moon is, this full moon is making a square to Saturn in the 5th house. So honestly, having Saturn move to the 5th house is challenging you to step up in terms of your relationships, or like 4 of Cups. You guys got this for the last moon too. So obviously this is some continuing energy happening here. Okay, so Saturn moving in your 5th house, as I was saying, can challenge you in your relationships. And it's not really like your relationships per se. It's like, it's your ability to relax and like date and have fun and have pleasure and have joy. So that aspect of your life can feel like it's a little bit more effortful, or like you need to put effort to get a result that you want. This could also be with children, or if you have a business, this could be with your business as well. It's like you need to put a little bit of effort in right now and make some changes in that area of your life to start to see these financial rewards coming in. I'm getting that your career path is totally right and you should continue on that career path, but there's some like creative element to what you're doing that needs to be really looked at, to help you create like a financially stable result into the future. So that could be if you have a business, or this could be with children. Like maybe you need to like really examine like something about your parenting, or relationship with your child, or if it's about dating, like examine like the effort that you're putting into with dating and like your patterns and like how you're showing up. If it's about like pleasure in life, like just general like creativity or pleasure, like examine those areas with like a more serious like eye, I guess was what I'm saying, and ask yourself what changes you can make to better support your sense of fulfillment, your sense of stability, and ultimately your finances as well, by helping you develop aspects of your skills and personality that will ultimately lead to more finances through your career. Ninth house, faith. Interesting. I'm definitely seeing a lot going on emotionally with these cards. I also pulled the card Deep Replenishment, Retreat, Rest, and Be Held. That's interesting. If you guys have been working super hard, I would encourage you guys to really take some time away and have a better balance, because Mars transiting your 10th house can make you work really hard and put a lot of energy into your career, and maybe you need like a second for yourself. I'm really getting the sense with this Eight of Clouds or Eight of Swords, that working this hard could also be a way for you to avoid maybe some negative thoughts. Self-victimization is like when our thoughts are hurting us, we become victims to our own mind. And I'm definitely seeing, it's interesting because this Eight of Swords is coming in between these two cards. So it's separating these two cards. So it's almost like it's giving us a decision here. Like we can either have the Nine of Cups or the Four of Cups. We can either find emotional stability through our thoughts, or through our thoughts, we can manifest this feeling of not having what we want. Even when the universe is trying to give us like this water drop or this cup, and the universe is trying to give us stuff, we still feel like we don't get what we need. I really feel like the difference is in our mind here, especially Libra, you're an air sign. Your mind is very much ruling over your emotional body. So I think it's going to be really important for you to be very aware of what's going on in your mind, especially because the sun is moving through the 8th house, and this is where we store a lot of our insecurities. And you have the sun conjunct Uranus. You also have Venus and Mercury conjunct Uranus in the 8th house as well. This is going to start giving you realizations about, I feel like things, I want to say like things you've been tolerating, because it's making a square to Saturn in the 5th house. So this can kind of come up if you're dating or you're like in relationships. Like there can be things that you're maybe tolerating that are actually, or with your children or with your business, that need to be changed. But I'm also just getting a feeling of like of us, like I say us because I have the same transits happening. So just the 8th house is like really where we get in our own way. It's where our thoughts really get the best of us, where we start fearing outcomes. The 8th house is moving towards the 7th house of celebration, of endings, of finishing something, and of death as well. But it's like it doesn't want to die. There's this resistance to the change. There's a resistance to letting go. There's a resistance to something going on. And so there might be a resistance to letting something go. And because it's making a square to Saturn in the 5th, I feel like this part is ultimately like challenging your ability to feel at ease and pleasureful in your life, because there's a resistance to like letting something go in your mind, not like in your life. I mean, it could be in your life, but really in your mind. And I'm just getting the sense with like Venus and Mercury and Uranus all being highlighted here, that you're going to have a realization about what that is and about what is keeping you from your fulfillment. And I feel like this is very similar to the last moon. With the new moon, is like that was us finding pleasure and joy, and this one is very similar. But it's saying that in order to find that pleasure and joy, we have to stop this self-victimization, because we have a choice between emotional stability and rejecting feeling good. Like, and I feel like you have to have this time alone to discover what these things are that are holding you back. And I feel like it's telling us, like, even if this is kind of a weird time where your thoughts are getting the best of you and you're kind of wavering back and forth between feeling really good and feeling like your needs aren't being met, I feel like, yeah, that's the sense I'm getting, is like there's this back and forth, back and forth. And that's like what Libras tend to do anyway. Like, they can be pretty indecisive. Like, oh, do I want this or do I want that? Like, do I feel this way or do I feel that way? So I'm getting the sense that you guys can feel like some days you feel good and then some days you feel like shit. And it's like, finally, with this full moon in Scorpio, you're going to have some revelations about that and your thought processes and like how you're holding yourself back from feeling emotionally stable in a more consistent way. Because Libra's ultimate desire is to create a sense of balance, but you can't have balance if you're going from one extreme to another and going back and going forth. You only can have balance by meeting in the middle somewhere. And yeah, I feel like this is saying to have faith for the future that you will achieve this balance. Because I feel like this has been maybe an ongoing struggle. Like, maybe you've been finding the solution in some things and then like you think it's the solution and then you get it and you actually, it doesn't turn out what you thought it would be. And you feel like you start to lose faith. Well, like, okay, if that thing didn't make me happy, then what is going to make me happy? What is going to make me fulfilled? And I'm like, you are going to make you fulfilled. That's why you got this 8 of Clouds. Like, you are not the victim of your environment. You're the victim of yourself and your own thoughts. And you can find emotional stability and happiness in any like state of life. So it's really about, I feel like, you coming in and giving yourself the pleasure and the joy and the peace of mind by having these stable thoughts. Instead of like searching for something to give you that, it's like coming from within. And I actually feel like your career is really going to help you cultivate that sense of pleasure and joy. Like, the effort that you're putting into your career is emotionally going to just dump into you and is going to fill you up. And it's going to give you this like sense of security moving forward. So if you're investing time into your career, like, do that. That's so positive for you. Just make sure you're doing it with a sense of balance where you're also taking rest when you need it. But yeah, I definitely am getting the sense that your career is going to be this like positive lifeline in a sense to bring you some joy and some creativity. And I do feel like that's ultimately going to leave you to having more finances and more stability. But I'm really getting the sense that this isn't as much about money as it is about like mental and emotional stability within yourself. So yeah, that's what I'm seeing for you guys, Libra Rising. If this resonates, please like and comment down below. I love your comments. I read every single one and they make my day, even if I'm slow to respond. And as always, if you want to purchase an astrology reading from me, you can do so at willsboom.com. Thanks. Bye. All right, up next we have Scorpio Rising. So you guys, this is your full moon, which means it's happening in your first house of self. And it is going to be probably a little bit intense for you guys because of the fact that it's happening in your first house. But, you know, as a Scorpio rising, you're probably used to intensity by now. So I am pulling some cards to go along with this message. I got the Hangman Surrender. This was in reverse. So I'm not sure. I think I'm going to read them all upright, though. And I got the World Ascension. I wonder if you guys are going to be traveling soon. Oh, weird, you guys. I'm getting this mirror happening here. And lastly, I got the Page of Wands, Exploration. Definitely could be some traveling, you guys. I'm curious. especially with Mars moving through your 9th house of foreign travel. Why not? Why not travel? Okay, the mirroring that I'm seeing here is these two numbers. So you have 12 and then you have 21. And so I'm definitely getting a sense of like a reflection here or two choices here. We'll see how that kind of comes into play. This moon is making a trine to Mars in the 9th house. That's why I'm saying, like, I definitely could see some traveling happening. Doesn't have to be traveling, but that's definitely a potential. Lemuria. Creating heaven on earth, it's happening. Interesting. You also got the World card, which has a picture of the earth on it. So I'm definitely getting the sense that even if you're not traveling, just like getting outside and into nature and really exploring the earth in some way is going to be like really beneficial for you. But yeah, I'm definitely getting the sense of like exploring, and I mean like hiking, like going somewhere new that you haven't gone before. Grand Cross Provoker. I got this for another group as well. This is a huge indication of change and shifts in your life. Multiple shifts, because squares or grand crosses are multiple squares happening, and squares indicate change. So it's like boom, 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 like multiple areas of your life being shifted at once. And with the full moon happening in your first house, that is to be expected, honestly. All right, I'm going to pull one more card for you. Saturn return age. That makes me feel like I should pay special attention to Saturn, because this moon is making a square to Saturn in your 4th house of home, of family, of emotions, of your roots. Interesting. Okay. Well, first of all, I'm definitely getting a sense that there is a need a little bit to explore yourself, like explore the world to explore yourself, because the moon lighting up your 1st house is going to give you new insights into yourself, maybe into your desires, into aspects of your personality. And it's trining Mars and Cancer in the 9th house, which is saying that it's good to act on those things. It's good to go and take any interests that are coming up right now and explore them and run with them and implement change. I feel like that's what this Grand Cross came up, is like, as you have these new ideas come into your life, like actually implementing the change and exploring new things to go and see those results in your life. So if you're curious about something, if you want to visit somewhere, if you want to try something new, I'm really getting the sense that this is like a go for it, like do it. And I feel like you're going to have to change your beliefs about yourself in order to do those things. Like, this is a surrender card. I feel like it's surrendering all these like pre-existing ideas and beliefs that you have about who you are, what you want, where you're going in life, what you can achieve. I feel like those things need to be turned on their head, and you to just kind of let go of them. I feel like it's not even viewing it from a different perspective. It's just like not holding on to it at all, like just letting it go and like being curious and having this Page of Wands. This is a curious energy. This is like the energy I feel like is associated with Gemini. They're just, I want to be dabbling in things. I don't have to have a commitment to something. And I feel like you guys having Saturn in the 4th house are feeling like this intensity of like, I need to create a stable foundation. I need to make a home. I need to like be this mature person. With Saturn moving through the 4th house, I was like, all right, it's time to get my shit together. Like, pressure's on, you know? And I feel like what this is saying is you still have a lot of like getting to know yourself to do. And you actually don't need to like have this strong foundation. Like, okay, you actually don't need to have all that figured out right now. Like, I feel like the square to Saturn is going to make you feel uncomfortable, because you're going to have these realizations about yourself and things that you want to do and explore. But then Saturn is there saying, well, let's be stable. Let's be safe. Let's be secure. Let's do the responsible thing. And then there's going to be this other side of you that's like, but I just had this realization about this really cool idea of something that I want to go do. I want to go live in Costa Rica for a month, or I want to go change this aspect of my personality, or I want to go study this one thing. And then Saturn is going to be like, well, did you save money for that? And it's kind of like these things are going to be at odds. And what you need to do is meet somewhere in the middle. You know, you don't want to throw out the responsible side of yourself, but you also don't want to not explore this side of yourself and not expand, which I feel like the World card is allowing you to do. It's like, it says ascension, but I feel like it's expansion. Like you can achieve the world. You can grasp the world in your fingertips, but you have to let go of these preconceived notions about what you should be doing, which is Saturn, and strike that balance between having responsibility and stability and exploring and expanding. Because you can't just, sometimes they're at odds. Like sometimes you can't do both. Sometimes you have to have a little of this and then later you do a little of that, if that makes sense. So if you feel like you want to expand in some way, fucking do it. Fucking do it. This moon is also making, yeah, I already said it's making a square to Saturn the 4th. So it could also bring up stuff like literally around your family or around like a physical home. Like you're like, okay, I want to go traveling, but like who's going to watch the dog? Or like I have to take care of the kids. I don't know, like stuff like that. There can be just general responsibilities in the home that feel like they're weighing you down. That feel like you can't fully explore these excitements or like this new perspective. But I feel like it's telling you to. It's saying it's time to create your heaven on earth. So find a way to make it happen. Like life doesn't have to feel like this big have to or this big should or this big responsibility. You can make it as heavenly and as fun as possible for you right here, right now. Like you don't have to wait till you die to relax and enjoy. And I feel like that's kind of what this is saying. So having the sun move through your 7th house of relationships and being conjunct Uranus can definitely bring up some things in relationships that are a little bit unexpected. You'll have Venus and Mercury and Uranus conjunct there too. So you might get unexpected or sudden insights to your relationships and how your relationships might be keeping you stable or keeping you small, or how you want to achieve stability and your relationships are getting in the way of that somehow. And the reason I'm saying that is because those planets are making a square to Saturn in the 4th. So you're having the relationship area highlighted and you're having the home life highlighted, and they're making a tense aspect, meaning that they're fighting. These areas of your life need some sort of compromise. Of course, that's going to be distinct for every person's scenario, so it's hard to like say exactly what it's going to be, but you might want to make some like shifts to who you are, and it could kind of like impact your relationships. Or you might want to literally change homes, and that could impact your relationship. Like there's so many ways that this could come across. You guys also have Jupiter in the 4th house though, and it's making a trine to Mars in the 9th. So there is an element here of you being able to strike that balance between exploration and home life and stability. There is a good balance because Jupiter is coming in here to give blessings and say it's not all responsibility. You actually have opportunities within the home that are going to feel good, that are going to feel exciting, that you're going to want to have. You're going to want to have some of that, but then you're also going to want to have this more like exploratory aspect of yourself that isn't afraid to see and do things that are well outside of the comfort zone of home. So yeah, I think the thing that I don't have a full grasp of intuitively, like as I'm reading this, is how your relationships and your home are tied together. There is some link there, and I'm going to leave that link up to you guys to kind of figure out how that fits into your life. But there's some link where your relationships and realizations about your relationships could impact your home or vice versa. And there needs to be like a compromise, you know, a creative solution to bring these things together in the best possible way. So yeah, that's what I'm seeing for you guys, Scorpio Rising. I hope you have a really beautiful day. And if this resonates, please like and comment down below. I read all of your comments. They make my day. And I just want to tell you guys how much I appreciate you, and especially if you're leaving a comment down below. And as always, if you want to purchase a reading, an astrology reading from me, you can do so at willisboom.com. And I hope you have a great day. Bye. All right, up next we have Sagittarius Rising. So for you guys, this full moon in Scorpio is happening in your 12th house. So I'm definitely going to tell you guys to spend some time alone for this full moon. You need to have a little self-care retreat, because the 12th house is where we have some time in isolation to escape from the world, and that's when we can really have our best realizations about ourselves. It's interesting because I pulled the Ace of Pentacles, which says opportunity here. This is how the beauty gurus do it, right? All right, Ace of Pentacles. I'm getting the feeling that this is not about money. Looking at your astrology, I mean, it could be about money, but I'm really getting a sense that the Pentacle is coming through in terms of like physical manifestations of opportunities in your life, rather than like finances necessarily. Because the only financial like house you guys have involved is the fact that you have Mars moving through your 8th house of shared finances, of joint finances. So it's possible you could receive some money from like a relative passing, or like some kind of tax break, like, or investment. Like there is definitely a possibility for that to happen. But again, I'm getting the sense that this is more of like a chance encounter, like some kind of opportunity popping up into your life in the physical form, but not necessarily money. I also pulled some swords cards. I pulled the Page of Swords, which is about curiosity, and the Knight of Swords, which says ambition. So there's definitely some mental things going on, and that's really what I expect when I see some of what you guys have in your astrology. Like especially because this moon is making a square to Saturn in your 3rd house, I feel a lot of like what you're working on this next year and a half is your mindset and the way that you communicate. Like there's a lot of lessons coming in around that area of your life. Your mindset, your communication, your mindset, your communication. It could be issues around siblings as well. I mean, it doesn't have to be those things. But I feel like those things will come up regardless. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense that I pulled some cards that are a lot about the mind and about thoughts. Trust the niggle. What is the niggle feeling trying to tell you? And I also pulled the Great Gathering. It's all coming together. Intuitive Hit Soul Tribe. Another group got this. There's a lot of repeat cards. I feel like a lot of us are experiencing very similar energies this full moon. Having a full moon in the 12th house is interesting because the 12th house is where, and I say this a lot, but it's where a lot of things are hidden. So it's like we're finally illuminating some things in our life that have been hidden for possible lifetimes. And it's interesting because I pulled the South Node life debts, and the 12th house is one of the most karmic houses, and it has a lot to do with past life karmic debts that are owed. So the South Node here makes so much sense to me now. Let me pull one more card. Ooh. Taurus, I have. Okay, I feel like this is kind of reiterating what I was saying about a physical opportunity coming in for you. All right, I'm just going to sit with this for a second. Try to synthesize what I'm seeing here. Yeah, there is so much in regards to mindset. So I feel like what you guys are doing, since this full moon is in your 12th house, is starting to illuminate some things from your past life, honestly. Like, I feel like it's asking you to really restructure how You think about things. And having the sun move through your sixth house, conjunct Uranus. Sorry, I know I'm talking really slow. I feel like for the other groups, it was like a super clear message. And for you guys, I feel like I'm just seeing the same thing over and over again of mindset and karmic debt. And I'm trying to put it in terms of a story and get a fuller picture in my head before speaking about it. So yeah, it's interesting to have the sun lighting up the sixth house because that is kind of like, that is very similar to the 12th house in terms of karmic debt. I feel like when I think about the 12th house, I feel like that's where we store a lot of emotional trauma from past lives. And I think it's also where we accumulate karmic debt because it's like if you have a lot of planets in the 12th house, it can make you very spiritual. And it doesn't have to necessarily be karmic debt. However, I do feel like it does pertain to kind of like when you hurt someone in a past life and you accumulate that karma, it's stored in the 12th house. And then the 6th house is where we pay off the karma. It's where we do the service to other people, where we help people, where we're just like giving and giving and giving to pay off this karmic debt. So I feel like these two places kind of coincide. They both have to do with karmic debt. And the 12th house is where it's stored in our like mental, emotional body. And that's why a lot of times when people have planets in the 12th house, they will have trouble with addiction or they will have trouble with like emotional like or mental like problems. So like mental illness is very common for certain planets in the 12th house. So it's interesting that these are illuminated at this time, especially because the moon is making a trine to Mars and Cancer in the 8th house, which is also a challenging house. It's also one that I see linked with like past life trauma. So it's like a very like similar theme here of like your past lives and like past things, maybe just childhood, whatever you guys believe in. It doesn't have to be past lives. But I'm getting the sense that like the past is very much at the surface at this full moon. And I feel like some of those patterns are trying to be illuminated and let go and burned off so that you don't repeat a cycle that could have been from a past life. So I have no idea if this is resonating for any of you guys, but it's possible that you are literally ending a cycle that began in a past life for many lives that could have replayed in this lifetime, and it's like now it's ending, which is huge. I feel like the trine to Mars and Cancer in the 8th is saying like there's an ending here. There's finally like a transformation of this energy into something that's more useful. And like the only way that this cycle can remain on is through your mind because of Saturn in the 3rd house. If you choose to perpetuate like certain thoughts, then the cycle can continue on. And I feel like that's what it's saying, that the fact that this full moon is in the 12th house and squaring Saturn in the 3rd house is saying you can break this pattern. You're going to have awareness of this cycle and its ability to end. And you can fully release it if you are very aware of your thoughts and just choose to think differently about certain patterns in your life, if that makes sense. Like, I'm seeing the cycle ending, but again, like the only way it can live on is through the thoughts. So it's just important to be mindful of the thoughts and not to repeat similar thoughts that maybe came in from literally past lives or from your childhood. I think the reason I'm so hesitant is because this is a very similar message to some like another group that I gave, or maybe even 2 groups. And I just feel like that's what I'm seeing. And I think Scorpio has a lot to do with that. It's like a lot about burning up these past, like these fears that come from the past and like transforming the energy and like letting it go. And that's really what I'm getting is coming through for you with this South Node is a sense of like finally letting this cycle go and choosing to think different thoughts. And I feel like you're going to. I mean, you have Jupiter transiting your third house. I feel like you're approaching this with a sense of curiosity and not this again. Oh, there we go. Yeah, and allowing yourself to explore a different way of thinking, a different way of feeling. I'm really sorry, you guys. I feel like all the other groups have been really great, and this one I'm just like, I'm experiencing self-doubt, and it's happening on camera. So that's what you're seeing take place. So thank you so much for bearing with me. I want to deliver this message to you guys, and like I feel really passionate and excited about it. I just sometimes it gets, if you allow yourself to stop and think, you can get in your head, which I'm doing, and you can start feeling like what what I'm saying isn't good enough or isn't the right thing, and then it's hard for the messages to come through because your conscious mind starts blocking it. So just a little kind of, walk into my brain and what's happening right now. So yeah. So you have the Sun and Uranus, and then Venus and Mercury and Uranus all conjunct in your 6th house. And what I feel like that is saying is that you guys might actually start having some more realizations specifically about your work and the way that you're meant to show up and serve the world. And I feel like that's why I pulled these 2 cards here, is I feel like you guys are going to be starting to have these new ideas come in that you can start to explore and really use your ambition and your enthusiasm and your intellect to dive into those further. Because I am getting the sense that Sagittarius risings are coming more into the way that they can be best of service in the world. And I feel like that's what this opportunity is it saying that you guys are going to get an opportunity to burn off your past life karma by getting new ideas to come through to be of service. And I feel like because I pulled the Taurus I have card, is it saying that you are also going to be eventually monetarily rewarded for this, although it might not be at first. So I feel like it's going to be so much more than just burning off karma. I feel like it's also going to be about receiving blessings from it at some point. But I think the important thing is for you guys to trust your intuition. Both of these cards are saying that you're going to be guided by your intuition. And so if you start to get some insights at this time, especially with the full moon in the 12th house, which is extremely spiritual and extremely intuitive, I feel like this is when you're going to get divine downloads about your work and about the way you're meant to be of service and burn off that past life karma. But you have to have that time alone to connect with your intuition in order to actually access those insights. And I feel like as you begin to let this old cycle end from that may have continued from that past life, as you let that die off with Mars in the 8th house, just kill it, your mindset is going to start changing. So that work you have to put into like letting your mindset change, there's going to have some effort there, but then it's going to be reinforced as you start to let go of some of these like old patterns. I feel like you're going to have a new way of thinking emerge. So I feel like they're going to happen kind of simultaneously is what I'm saying. But yeah, I'm definitely getting the sense that you guys are getting more clarity around how you're meant to be of service, and you're meant to explore that with the sense of curiosity and ambition. And it's going to ultimately help you release this old karmic cycle from a past life. So that's the message I'm getting from you guys. I hope that you enjoyed this. Please like and comment down below if it resonates. And as always, if you want to purchase an astrology reading from me, you can do so at willsmom.com. I hope you have a great day. Bye. All right, up next we have Aquarius Rising. So for you guys, this full moon in Scorpio is happening in your 10th house of career. So it is definitely very possible that you guys are going to receive some insights into your career. or you guys are going to have some things come full circle. You're going to have opportunities emerge in your career, endings in your career, transformation in your career. Full moons can represent a lot of things. Cycles. Yeah, I'm definitely getting an ending of a cycle in terms of your career. So if you've been really struggling and trying to get your footing and you just lack a lot of clarity in your career, I feel like those things are going to start to shift for you. That cycle is going to start to end. I also have the Queen of Cups, sensitivity. I'm definitely getting the sense that a lot of you guys are very intuitive and are going to be utilizing this element in your career more than you have before. And I feel like that might come as a surprise to some of you guys. That card can mean something else too, though. So let me look at the rest of the astrology. So this moon is going to be making a trine to Mars and Cancer in your 6th house. So yeah, I'm definitely seeing like a very supportive energy in terms of like working at a job and career. So maybe like you have an ultimate vision for like a bigger career that you want. Maybe you want to have a business, or you have a different like end goal in terms of your career. I know I keep saying that. But I feel like Mars and Cancer in the 6th house is supporting you right now in order to have some sense of support and stability, so while you're trying to uncover that, because I think that's going to take some time, even though full moons are about results, and you might start seeing results now in terms of like having a vision, or like having an opportunity come, or having an ending to make the way for something new. I am getting the sense that there's a longer process undergoing with you guys in terms of understanding your purpose, because you have Saturn moving through your 1st house for at least the next year and a half. You guys, it's so hard to keep good posture all the time. I don't know how people do it. So having Saturn move through your 1st house is really, and Jupiter is really challenging you to construct your identity from scratch, because you guys have had Saturn, Jupiter, and Pluto move through your 12th house, which kind of like demolishes your identity, and it takes you back a step and asks you to be like, okay, well, what are you doing on this earth? Why are you here? What's your calling? And I feel like what it's saying now that it's transition to the 1st house is it's asking you to build that up and really discover who you are and your place in this world. So I feel like it's a longer cycle taking place, but I feel like one cycle is ending and a new one is beginning in terms of understanding the next phase and like what is coming through for you to work on next. And I feel like having Mars in the 6th house is basically saying, while you're still kind of getting your footing in this area and really figuring out who you are, you're going to be supported in your career. You're going to have the energy, in your like wherever you're working, you're going to have the energy to be of service and to give to people. You're going to have the energy for your daily activities. You're going to have the energy and the support through your workplace. And because you have that, it's ultimately going to allow you to pursue bigger things in your life that take longer to come to fruition. I also pulled the ever unfolding rose cracked open. It's happening for you, not to you. So if this is an ending, just recognize that this is very critical and it's going to be helpful in the ultimate unfolding of the rose. Like I said, this is a part of a larger cycle. Something bigger is happening. Something bigger is at play. So if there is an ending, if there's a shift, if there's anything that feels like instability right now, it's happening for you, and it's ultimately leading you to this larger, bigger purpose. Yeah, because look at the card that it ends with. Warrior woman, have you answered your deepest calling? I feel like that's what you're figuring out right now, and I feel like it's going to take some time, you guys. There's no rush. You don't need to have all the answers, but this warrior woman card is saying it's coming. That's the path that you're on. You're finding your calling. You're fighting for your calling. I also pulled Inner Temple Devotion, tune into the portal of your heart. So I feel like if you guys are not meditating right now, this is saying that one way to check in with yourself that's really powerful is meditating. And it's going to help you uncover parts of yourself, which is very important at this full moon. to better understand what career moves to make and how this fits into the bigger purpose of your life. Because this full moon is making a square to Saturn in the first, so there's definitely a need to really check in with yourself. So make sure that you're taking that time to do so. Grand trine blessings. So you guys, if there are blessings and opportunities coming in, or even endings, these are your blessings. Like, you are being blessed at this time. You are being directed. I'm getting the sense that you are being guided, and that you're not just going to be like left to fend on your own, but that there are things coming through for you now that are actually really supportive. And it's going to be important for you to tune into your intuition, to recognize, tune into your emotions and your intuition, to recognize how this is supporting you. And even if it doesn't always seem like that, it might seem like that, but for some of you, the blessing might come in the form of an ending or a transformation that feels like it's negative, but ultimately is very powerful, very helpful. You guys have the sun in the 4th house, which is conjunct Uranus. You also have Venus, Mercury, and Uranus conjunct in the 4th house as well. So I'm definitely getting a sense that you guys are going to have some realizations about your emotions, and possibly about your home or family life as well. Because with this Queen of Cups, I'm getting the sense that you're going to kind of be opening up to this side of yourself that is more intuitive. Yeah, I'm definitely getting the feeling that this is coming through for some of you guys, that you're going to be tapping more into your heart center and discovering things about yourself, but it's actually going to require you to make changes to your life path and your direction and yourself, or the way that you treat your physical body. There's some change around your purpose that's coming in from your understanding of yourself and your emotional nature and your intuition. That's really, really what I'm getting very strongly here. And I feel like the message is pretty simple for you guys. I also feel like as you're putting effort into the, your current job and taking care of the things in front of you currently, I think that is also going to help transform you into the person that you want to be, and the person that you need to be in order to achieve some of these long-term visions that you might get some clarity around at this full moon. So I feel like that was a lot shorter than the other groups, but it felt very clear. So I'm just going to leave it at that. And if you guys have questions, you can, of course, comment down below and I will answer them. But yeah, you guys are super amazing, and I wish you the best of luck on this journey of self-discovery. And if you liked this or resonated with it, please like and comment down below, because you guys, it means so much to me when you leave a comment. I just can't even explain, even if I'm slow to answer them. And if you want, you can purchase a reading from me at willowsboom.com, and I hope you have a great day. Bye. All right, and lastly, we have our beautiful Pisces babies. So for you guys, this full moon in Scorpio is happening in your 9th house. Your 9th house has a lot to do with travel and exploration. It has to do with self-discovery, higher education, learning, teaching, intuition, astrology, divination tools like this. I'm pulling some cards to go along with the astrological themes, so I hope that you enjoy that. And I pulled for you guys the Novice of Gems Skill Development. So I think that Novice is the Knight or the Page. Oh, I think it's the Page. So Page of Pentacles, Skill Development. Is it the Page? All right, we're just going to go off of the word skill development, because I can't remember if Novice in this deck means Knight or Page or what. Anyway, so this moon is going to be making a trine to Mars in Cancer of the 5th house. Wow, you guys are getting a lot of pentacle cards. It's very interesting. Whenever I get a lot of pentacles, I'm definitely getting the sense that there's going to be like physical signs of this moon in your life, and that's not all intellectual. So you guys have the 2 of Pentacles, which is about priorities, really balancing and juggling different aspects of your life. So developing your skills, balancing your priorities, and 6 of Pentacles, which is all about an equal give and take, or even just being generous. So a sense of balance is really what I'm getting here. There's a need for a sense of balance in both your priorities and in your relationships with how you give and take. Okay, I got this for another group too. Deep replenishment. So I think it could be helpful for you guys to have a little bit of a rest. Especially since this moon is making a square to Saturn in the 12th. And the 12th house can just already make us feel like we need a rest. Protection, call back your power. I don't know what's going on. Everyone's getting the same type of cards this time. These are both repeat cards. And you guys got 8th house, endings and beginnings. And lastly, you got the 3rd house, messages. All right, so let's see what's coming through with this. So I'm getting a sense that I'm getting the sense that there needs to be like a balance here coming in between your like your pursuit of pleasure and then like the pursuit of wanting to achieve more in your life is really what I'm getting. Because the moon in the 9th house, I feel like, is a lot about us trying to improve our lives. It's where we go to understand ourselves better, where we go to learn more about not only ourselves, but about the world and about literally skills. Like we go and study, we develop skills. So if you've been wanting to go back to school for something, this is a yes for that. Or if that's coming to an end and you're starting something new in terms of developing skills, or you're maybe getting some, like maybe you're graduating, maybe there's some kind of like culmination period in developing your skills and then beginning a new cycle in terms of that. But yeah, I'm getting the sense that there's like this part of you that is wanting to really develop like your life, but then it's making a trine to Mars and Cancer in the 5th, and that's saying like there's also part of you that wants to enjoy life and just have fun. Like there's also, I mean, Mars moving through your 5th house, like this is about you just wanting to seek pleasure and being motivated by enjoying the fun things in life, whether that's traveling, hanging out with friends, having a drink, creating things, even having kids, you know, like whatever that is. But I'm definitely getting this sense between like personal expansion and like seeking new opportunities to grow professionally, personally, financially, and then this other side of you that's like, well, I also want to just have a drink and chill. And I think that's really coming back to balancing out your priorities and making sure that you guys kind of have those in check. It seems like you guys are already doing this though, because you have a trine between the moon and Mars. So I feel like these are supportive energies. It's saying to do both. It's not saying that, I don't feel like you guys are necessarily struggling. This definitely feels like, in that sense, it feels like an easier moon for you guys. However, I did get the 8th house of endings and beginnings. So this can bring about some intensity, because whenever we have shifts like that, it can feel like a lot, you know, like any transition in life can feel challenging. This one might be in particular, like the way that you're expanding yourself, whether that's you learning, you teaching, you traveling, sharing your wisdom in some way. Like your way of doing that, I feel like, is ending and like another way is beginning. Hopefully that is resonating, because you have a square to Saturn in the 12th house, and this can also indicate like a loss or like an ending, a closing of a cycle. That's like the feeling I'm getting, is like a closing of a cycle. So if you've been like doing, maybe if you've had like a particular job, or you've been going to school, or if you've been trying to do this like teaching in a certain way, maybe like those things will end and you will start a new way of doing it, or you'll start like a new path in trying to expand yourself. That's the sense that I'm getting. And I feel like it's interesting too, because you have the sun moving through your 3rd house, and then you got the 3rd house messages. So I feel like this is going to be really important for you. because the sun is conjunct Uranus, and then also you're going to have Venus and Mercury and Uranus conjunct as well. So I'm definitely getting the sense that you're going to have a lot of new ideas. And I think you're going to have to pay really close attention to these ideas and really use your intuition to kind of sort through the best way to expand moving forward. Because Venus and Mercury and Uranus are all making a square to Saturn in the 12th. So I feel like there has to be some like effort or commitment to these ideas, and really like choosing which ones are coming with you and which ones are staying behind. Like I'm seeing a lot of like development of yourself, prioritizing, working on yourself, putting an effort into like physical things in your life to expand yourself as a person, your opportunities. But I'm definitely getting the sense that like you're gonna have lots of ideas, and you're gonna have to like dial it down and like get realistic and like make decisions and be a little cutthroat in that sense. I also feel like you're definitely going to need to go within, as I mentioned before, to tune into your intuition to decide which ideas are really in true alignment with you. And I feel like it's interesting because you got this protection card. Whenever protection and then the endings came out together, so there may be some type of ending happening at this moon that is going to shift things for you, give you new ideas, new perspectives about how to continue forward in your life. Not sure what's ending for you. Saturn, again, the square Saturn in 12th can indicate loss, can indicate endings. But I'm definitely getting the sense that like whatever is ending for you guys is coming in as a protection mechanism from the universe, because you were going too far down a path that wasn't yours, or that wasn't in alignment, or that wasn't going to help you expand like you're trying to do. Like this moon is in the 9th house. It's about growth, expansion, becoming the best version of yourself in your life, attaining things, understanding yourself, understanding life. And I feel like if there is an ending happening, maybe not for all of you, but for some of you, if there is an ending, that is protection, because you can't continue to expand down that path. Like it was going to restrict you in some way. It was going to keep you small in some way, or stagnant. And that happens a lot. That's why we have to constantly transform and change, because we can get used to one way of being and then we can stagnate. Like we can get a job and it's so cool and we're learning a lot. And then 3 years later, that job is like the same every day. And we're like, all right, am I really growing and learning? No, I need to expand. I'm stagnating here. I need to expand. And so like, what does the universe do? It will put in these sudden endings, or these sudden insights, or these sudden things that we know we need to change. And if we don't change it, the universe will change it for us. So that's really what I'm getting the sense that like whatever is happening is definitely going to bring you more happiness, especially because you have Jupiter transiting in 12th house. So you're going to have a lot of spiritual realizations through this. You're going to understand yourself on a really deeper level. And I also think it's just going to bring you more joy. And having these spiritual understandings is going to help you pursue your intuition and your creative ideas even more, and have just more pleasure in your life in general. So that's what I'm seeing for you guys. I hope that this resonates. If so, please like and comment down below. And yeah, especially the comments, guys. Like I can't tell you how much I enjoy the comments. They really make my day. And as always, if you want to purchase a reading from me, you can do so at lizbloom.com. And I hope you have a really beautiful day. Bye. All right, Capricorn Risings. I somehow forgot you guys in my original video, and unfortunately I am no longer at my house right now. I came home to my parents to help take care of my mom after her surgery, and so this is going to be a lot shorter than the other ones. I don't have the cards, but you know what? I just wanted to make sure that it did get out there to you guys, and I don't know how I always forget a sign. It just pretty much happens like 50% of the time. So this full moon in Scorpio is happening in your 11th house of friendships, which means that the sun is going to be opposite it in your 5th house it can be of romance and dating. It can be of creative self-expression. And it is going to be making a conjunction with Uranus, the sun is. And Venus is also going to be conjunct Uranus and Mercury in your 5th house. So I'm definitely seeing a heavy concentration there and having some kind of new ideas or epiphanies in regards to how you're meant to express yourself creatively, or maybe how you desire to, I guess, like actualize or externalize a part of yourself. So that whether that is having children, or starting a passion project or a business, or creating art, or even just producing something that is a reflection of yourself. I feel like you're going to have a lot more insights about that at this time, maybe some more realizations about how you're meant to grow into that area of your life. And I really feel like because the full moon is happening in the 11th house, and it's also making a trine to Cancer, Mars and Cancer in the 7th house, there's a very supportive energy coming in here through groups, connections, and even intimate relationships. So I'm seeing that there's a desire for something to be born here creatively. And that can be, again, any of those things that I listed. But I really feel like those things are going to come as a result of making connections with other people. I think the fact that the moon is lighting up the 11th house of like-minded groups is going to be very key and important here. So this is the house in which you can start to make these networking connections that will help lift you up into more of your creative purpose or your creative career, if that's something that you're interested in. If you want to have children, it will be like finding the right kind of community or school system that is really going to fit in with what you want to have in the future. Or it just basically is any kind of networking support group that has the same interests and same ideals as you do when you're trying to go about this path of creating something for yourself. And what I love about the 5th house specifically is that it's a house in which there's an accumulation happening where the effort that you're putting in is growing over time. So there is this sense of increase with the 5th house. So I love that the sun is here with Uranus. I feel like that can bring unexpected results. But since the 5th house is a building process, I don't necessarily see the results happening right away, although that can happen with full moons. I am getting the sense that the results that would happen now are going to be triggers or kind of signs of larger results that are going to come in the future. And specifically, if you're starting to see people come into your life now that are in alignment or that have similar interests as you, I feel like that is the sign that you're going to start creating something with those people, or you're going to have some larger result happening because of or as an extension of being around those people. I also feel like your intimate relationships are going to be very supportive at this time in order to help you really understand yourself and the next step and direction for you, because the moon is making a trine again to Mars and Cancer in the 7th house. It's interesting because I feel like Mars being in Cancer, it's like Cancer is so all about emotions, and Mars is not really about emotions. It's about just doing what you want instinctively. But the sense that I'm getting for you guys is it's almost going to help you figure out your emotions. It's almost like the people are going to come in from the outside and act as a mirror or reflection. And those intimate and close conversations that you have with people are going to help you uncover these different aspects of yourself. And I think a lot of that, again, is going to come from these like-minded individuals. So once you get with those people and you're talking to them in a closer, more intimate way, I feel like that's when you're going to start receiving these downloads or this information about how you're meant to continue. And I definitely think you're meant to leave some things behind when it comes to your expectations around finances, because you guys have Saturn moving through the 2nd house right now. Saturn moving through the 2nd house can limit your resources. It can make finances less available to you. But what's interesting about the 11th and the 5th house is that these are, again, about gaining an accumulation over time. So I feel like really what you're doing is you're investing your time and energy into something that you're not going to see the immediate results for up front. And I think being really clear with yourself about the fact that Saturn will be moving through this house for the next at least year and a half for you, that, you know, not expecting to have huge finances or huge results coming from something right away is going to be important, because it's going to allow you to have that longevity in order to see this project or this creative thing, whether it's having family or whatever it is, through to the end, because in the immediacy, it's going to put a strain on your finances, but in the long term, I feel like it will be helpful. Obviously, if you have kids, they're not going to help your finances, but they're going to help your overall life situation. So immediately they might put a strain on your finances, but then at some point it will kind of even out and you'll feel the benefits of having children more than the strain financially, obviously. Also, what I'm seeing with this moon squaring Saturn in the second is the need to change your values or your self-worth. And I think really when it's moving to the second house, not only is it restricting our finances, but it's making us very clear and like almost too realistic about what we're capable of and what we can achieve. The second house is linked to our skills and a lot of to our manifestation abilities, because those kind of go hand in hand. So I feel like Saturn is this very sobering planet that can make us have a very realistic kind of bleak outlook on life and on ourselves. So this square here is asking you, it's almost challenging you, like, can you be realistic but yet believe in yourself? You know, like, can you hold these two seemingly opposite realities in one? Can you be a little bit bleak about what's possible and where you are in this moment, but can you also realize that you're always building and growing, and these new aspects of yourself are going to continue to grow as well, and they're going to eventually accumulate into something really powerful and really cool. So I think a lot of this is about, yeah, like that self-worth. And as it's challenging you to grow in your self-worth and to understand what you're capable of and be confident but grounded in reality, you start to develop more skills, and over time you will feel less of that pressure from Saturn, and you will start to accumulate more money with more mastery. So that's really what I'm seeing when it comes to, you know, life direction and how you guys are moving right now. Yes, so you guys, I mentioned, have Venus conjunct Mercury and Uranus in your 5th house, and that is also making a square to Saturn in the 2nd house. So you might feel like the thing that you're moving towards, like this new direction, this new creative thing, or even this culmination of this idea for the creative direction or starting a family or traveling or whatever it is, you might feel like that is kind of at odds with your finances, or like it's not going to help financially, and that's probably true. But that's, again, what I was saying before, that's temporary. So just having realistic expectations, but not using that to feel like demoralized or, you know, not excited about what's coming through, because what's coming through is actually very important to your path right now. And because you have Jupiter in the 2nd house, it's not going to feel like finances are that strained. If Saturn was here by itself, it would definitely feel a little bit different. And, you know, Jupiter is going to move into Pisces. It's going to move likely into your next house before Saturn does. So you are probably going to have this moment where you feel like, oh my gosh, like actually the purse strings are getting tighter. Whereas Jupiter alleviates that. So just recognize and know that maybe in a few months when Jupiter pops into Pisces for a second, I mean, it depends on your house placements. Like, it depends on your exact chart. But if Jupiter is on the 3rd house, but yeah, when Jupiter moves into the next house, essentially, it's going to make things maybe feel a little bit tighter financially. But by this point, you will have been a little bit used to the energy and will become more masterful in it anyway. And Jupiter in the 2nd is making a trine to Mars in the 7th. So again, I'm just sensing this support from your relationships, whether this is emotionally to help you with, you know, realizing how skilled you are and realizing your self-worth, or whether this is actually financially, where your partner does support you with some finances, you know, at some point in the month. I'm seeing just this really strong system that is, again, going to support you throughout this creative process. So I hope that this is helpful for you guys. Again, I'm sorry that there's no cards and that I did forget you guys, but I hope that you have a really beautiful full moon, and I'll see you next week.